The MacKay country, it's an enormous area. It's always been relatively sparsely populated compared to other parts of Britain, but is now one of the most sparsely populated areas in the whole of Europe, so it's really on the edge.
The word Ceilidh really just comes from the Gaelic meaning to go and visit someone. Of tradition, you would go and catch up on your neighbours and find out what nonsense is going on and share the music, language, the songs and catch up with each other.
Poulouriscaig is about 2 miles from Armidale. It's just a rough track that goes up over the hill and heading out towards the sea. Poulouriscaig was famous for its ceilidhs. People could always tell that there was a ceilidh in Poulouriscaig because you could see the light of the lanterns going up to Poulouriscaig. The ceilidhs used to take place in people's houses, as and when people came together.
There would certainly be a cup of tea and home baking. That would be definitely on the cards. There wouldn't be any question about that.
Might be a dram.
There would definitely be a dram too. They would just talk and have a good blather about things that was happening.
I think over the years ceilidhs have changed in the sense that although you still find them in people's houses and small gatherings, you also get them on a larger scale.
Ceilidh is a small community. I think there's about 98 people that live here. We wanted to put on something that would bring everybody together, the communities around the coast, so the Harvest Festival was born.
Poulouriscaig exists because at the interface between the 18th and the 19th centuries, it suddenly became profitable to have sheep on your ground rather than tenants. And large families and aristocracy of the entire Highlands went in for that on a big scale. It's one of a large number of places which were established along the north coast here to accommodate people from far inland, sometimes quite far inland, who had been evicted from their ancestral homes in order to allow the creation of very large sheep farms. These events became known as the Highland Clearances.
Poulouriscaig originally consisted of 4 dwellings. Our house was built on a hillock. The house itself would have been 2 sections. The kitchen cum sitting room was sort of one, and the other side would have been a bedroom. And they also had outbuildings. They would have a byre for the cattle on one side, and on the other side they had a shed.
They were cleared off their homes and put down to right to the coast. Some of them went abroad. But the Ceilidhs, that was their bond, you see, to go to visit each other and keep the traditions that they had when they were up in Russell and Poulouriscaig and Grimore and all that. That's what kept the culture alive.
was in school, there was just myself really that played like traditional music. Everyone else was into drums and guitars and playing more modern stuff. And I thought that keeping the accordion and pipes going would be good because it'll keep up the old stuff that was played years ago, and it's bringing kind of a modern take to it and keeping the whole spirit alive. It's all passed down like from years ago. I mean, a lot of it wasn't actually written down, it's all just passed on through word of mouth. You can tell the difference between people who play by ear. They kind of have more of a free kind of way of playing.
I can imagine Ceilidh's and Poulouriscaig being very happy occasions, full of music and stories. We had friends that were very friendly with our people in Poulouriscaig, and they used to go Ceilidh them. And one of the times they were there, one of them actually made a sketch drawing on the back of an envelope from a rock just opposite the house, and he took it away with him, and he enlarged it, and he framed it, and he brought it up on his back, apparently to Poulouriscaig from Armidale, and it was hanging in the old house. And that's where it came from. So we have it in our house now.
Agus ba dúirdaine ann seo an láthe bapam lá, agus ba tuairspóirsaiging a chanis bhí bia lásta agus Ceilidh a réis.
Your grandfather, and when he used to come over to us at in Slampy, and my father and mother, they spoke nothing else but Gaelic. But we were never taught it because my mother had a hard time in school when she went to school because she only spoke Gaelic. She got belted every day, and she always said she would never have her children go through that. My niece is a fluent Gaelic speaker now. My sister wasn't. So there was a generation missed, but it's coming back again.
And I think today at Ceilidh's you always hear Gaelic songs and a wider audience are hearing them, and it's somewhere as a platform for them where they're appreciated. As they kind of rode into the language,
very much so. And of course it is coming back.
Poulouriscaig was small. Because they were so isolated, eventually people couldn't live there because there were no communications. It became untenable in the winter, and the decision was made to move down to Armidale. I used to go up with my uncle to gather the sheep. We used to spend a bit of time up there as well, just going about the old ruins, and although I never lived there, I could still visualise life there, you know, for our people.
We quite regularly have get-togethers. It's about people enjoying themselves, it's about people sharing with each other, and it's just a great atmosphere.
Oh, that was a nice Ceilidh, Tina. I don't think I made a very good job of the tea. Angus wouldn't be appreciative of it at all.
The Ceilidhs here in Poulouriscaig perhaps had a deservedly good reputation. Places on the edge, peripheral places, they would be welcoming people. They would know what it was like to travel. They would know what it was like to walk across these hills, and they'd be glad to see someone that they could speak to, and they would share what they had with them in the best traditions of Highland hospitality.
I think Ceilidhs will go on long after my lifetime and your lifetime, because the young ones will carry on with it and it'll always be there.
It's part of who we are.
It is, exactly.